this time I'm recording. And you're live on Facebook because I figured out how to do a cool new thing. So I told the people in the peanut gallery, go ahead and share this to your Facebook pages so everybody can see the awesomeness of Alton and Key. We had this webinar last month. We had a fairly good attendance, even though I messed up the time. That was all on me. I set it for Pacific time rather than Central, and you know what? But we still had a great time. And then I forgot to record it, so no one else got to see the awesomeness of our webinar. So I appreciate you, Alton and Key, on coming back to a pen testing and profits webinar for the Humanize IT webinar for September. But you know, some things have happened since the last time we've talked, and I'd just like to kick us off by saying, welcome, fellow Pitch It finalists. I look forward to tripping Alton on stage.
That's gonna be glorious, man.
Presenting on stage.
Yeah.
Well, and congrats to you too. This is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a huge. It was an awesome announcement for both of us. So
yeah. So for everybody watching, Von Hai and us and Humanize IT are two of the finalists this year. We compete against 16 other companies for best emerging tech. And we competed. This isn't something where we bought ourselves onto a list. It's something we actually had to earn through a series of classes, through presentations and talking with people. And then we get voted as finalists. So if you're going to IT Nation this fall, we will be there on stage. Come on Wednesday and throw things at, is it going to be Alton or Key? Who's going to be on stage?
It'll be me.
Okay. Throw things at Alton. If he's got any allergies, please research those ahead of time. Yeah. And then for me, I'm looking for like roses with the thorns trimmed off. Maybe some gentle stuff for everybody. So, oh yeah, I should probably stop spotlighting my video. All right, is that better, Skip? Here, gallery view. That'll be better for everyone. So sorry about that. We had me spotlighted. So anyways, on with this webinar. So the reason we brought this webinar up was we always have value added webinars where we bring in interesting technologies or we talk about things happening in an MSP industry. And for those of you who know me, I have a background as a CISSP. I'm published in SANS. So security is near and dear to my heart. I've done a fair amount of vulnerability testing in the past. Never really got beyond the blue team. I love blue team stuff, but Alton and Key, you guys are red team mostly. Well, Alton's red team. Key, you're more of a blue team guy?
Yep. Yeah, I'm more of our service delivery side. Alton's full red team. You can see it behind him.
So before we get into what is pen testing, tell me a little bit of your history there, Alton.
Yeah. So I got started when I was 11, right? I got hacked. I was one of those kids that were, was in the chat room. AOL, for those that remember, just kind of lingering around. And
there weren't chat
eventually
when I was 10.
Yeah. So, I was just kind of dangling around in the chats and, I got hacked. So back then, the popular tools were like Sub7, NetDevil, very, very popular, very old school. And somebody hacked me. And when they did it, they actually told me that they did it to me. And so I immediately became curious, like, all right, how did you do it? What are you using? Teach me the ways, and so they taught me. And from that point on, I just became immediately like addicted to, can I get access to X, Y, Z? And the interesting thing too, is like, I never cared about what was on those like systems. I just wanted to know, could I get past all of the barriers to,
that was
exactly.
For me, it was wireless hacking. It was Wi-Fi hacking. Can I do it?
Exactly.
Can you do the Pringles can, and how many access points can you find?
Exactly.
On the Pringles can trick, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep. Yeah. And so, I didn't realize you can get paid to hack until I got much older. And that's when I really wanted to build a career, as a penetration tester. And so I've been pen testing for a little bit over 10 years now, and I'm super deep into coding. So I'm like one of those guys behind the computer that's all, just love coding. And so, yeah, that's my history. I just have a huge background in pen testing and I love it. Right. So
one of the things I loved about the chat rooms once I was in the AOL chat room, so yay, is that, oh, give me your IP and I'll hack you. I was savvy enough by that time to give him 127.0.0.1.
Nice.
And then it became just fun to do that. For those of you not tech savvy, 127.0.0.1 will send you back to yourself. So there's all sorts of stories of people like they were script kiddies.
Yep.
And they would push out a script and then they would drop offline and they would do it. Oh, I'm going to get you this. And they do it again. But because they didn't know what they were doing, they just kept shutting their own they kept shutting themselves down. They kept DDoSing themselves or whatever the exploit was because they were a script kiddie. And then the people who knew what they were doing would be like, yeah, but first of all, they're not going to troll you. And second of all, they're going to do something cool.
Yeah.
You know, we used to open up the CD trays in the dorms. And, you know, you'd be talking to somebody online and I think it was back Orifice at the time. We would open up the CD tray and say, hey, if you need to hold your soda somewhere and you'd open up.
That's awesome.
That was our joke because security sucked when I was in college. I mean, it was a pen tester's dream or a nightmare.
Exactly.
Whichever way you want to look at it. So, you know, what I know is every pen tester, every hacker has a crazy story. What I want to hear from Alton is I need you to start telling your craziest story.
Yeah. So for me, it was really when I went on site to do a wireless assessment as well as a social engineering assessment. And the goal was really to test the wireless environment to see, you know, could I hack it? And then two, could I get inside the building and how far could I get before I got caught? And so, you know, I was successful with both of those engagements. But the part that kind of really freaked me out was when I was basically, I got comfortable because I was so successful with the social engineering part that I was just like, all right, I'm just going to sit down and just start hacking a wireless network. I mean, at this point, the social engineering is over. So it doesn't matter if I get caught. But after about like 30 minutes to an hour, you know, I realized like they had a group of people walking towards me with security and I had no idea where they came from. And you know what? I'll save the rest of that for the end because it's a pretty interesting situation.
Yeah. I will tell everybody, as a blue team person, like, so our managers would test me all the time. Like if somebody could walk in the front door and walk to the back of the building would be what they would do. Or you'd have somebody come in and have a random laptop there. And I had basically like 20 minutes to figure this stuff out. Otherwise I got in trouble. The goal was to get the pen tester in trouble. So you're always on your edge. So I'm interested in hearing the last part of this story.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I want to talk about is the current state of pen testing. So I've been in a couple of the MSP forums on Facebook lately, and there's a lot of people like very skeptical about this idea of automating your pen test or doing virtual pen testing. Because I remember back in my day, it was Metasploit. Metasploit was all about it, and whatever Backtrack and Notpix. You could do Not Myth. Not Myth is video streaming. But there was all sorts of just put your CD in and hack. Script kiddies galore, but it really wasn't true pen testing. It was just this kind of a fake feel. It made you feel good. You had some rainbow files, crack some passwords, you were good. So tell me about like where we have been as pen testers, why people have this idea that pen testing can't be automated. So can you give me a little bit of like, where are we today? And I'm going to throw up a poll for everyone about what they're using currently for pen testing. So where are we currently and where are we going?
Yeah, I could take that one from Mikey. So, you know, it's interesting because when I was working at a cybersecurity company full time, I always thought the same thing. You can't automate a pen test because, you know, I spent a lot of time trying to learn what I could, you know, do to like, I spent a lot of time learning how to hack. Right. And so for me, it was very hard to like believe that it was possible to do the same thing through automation. But when you take a look at what a pen tester does, at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're running commands and they're observing the outputs and they're thinking about what's the next step to do. It's a lot of command line activity. A lot of new tools and exploits that come out, they're all command line driven. It's not that common that you actually need like a GUI or like, you know, a web you know, like just like a visual remote desktop session, for example, to really accomplish the goal of a penetration test. And so as we've actually been able to automate more and more pen test engagements, there's a lot of things that I used to think that, you know, we would never see. And today we're doing those things. And that includes like automating reports. At previous jobs, I've tried to propose the idea behind automating reports and everybody just say, no, you can't do that. It needs to be very tailored to the client. You know, it has to be this and be that. But at the end of the day, it's just a lot of decisions that you're making and you're just automating that logic chain. It's not impossible. And if you look at like automation in just the world in general, there's a lot of things that you thought couldn't be automated 10 years ago, and now they're being automated. So we're running into a situation to where like, you know, there's an increasing demand for penetration testing, and you can't just keep throwing humans at it because you're going to run out of humans to do that. So there's going to be like companies like us that are trying to solve their problem by using automation. So it's not impossible. It's just a matter of time until like I think we get the rest of the industry onto that, that belief.
Yeah. And I was just telling people in our community update, like there are shifts in the technology community. Everything starts with manual, and then because we're engineers, we want to automate it because we're lazy. And it's a core good value. I mean, it's even in the Pearl handbook of one of the great values of a programmer: laziness, hubris, and impatience. And the idea is that we're going to take something like pen testing and we're going to automate it. We're going to create some way of getting the same value out of it via a script so that we can do it 100 times. And we saw that happen back with antivirus back in the late 90s. It was like $100 for a good antivirus suite back in the day. And it was a pain to install. And even then, it locked down half your system, killed your network connections, but you were safe. But nowadays, it's either free or like $1 for a antivirus, or maybe $5 for a high-end one. And that's because the industry matured, and then it saturated, and then costs drove down. And so same thing with pen testing. Pen testing, I have spent 20 grand on a pen test. And that was just a simple one for a SAS 70 audit. Now you're looking at, you need to hire somebody. You need to hire somebody with a good GX certifications. You need to hire somebody who's a third party and who has good credentials behind their names, just so you can get this pen test done. Not a vulnerability scan, but an actual pen test where I can say, the vulnerability is there, and here's what we did with it. And so we are starting to see this emerging technology. And as far as I know, Von Hai, you're the first to the true pen testing market, and people are skeptical. And so what I want to introduce people on the call here and watching live, our Facebook is actually doing really well. So what I want to tell people is this is real. This works. What they have is valid. This is coming from somebody who had a CISSP, not the new CISSP, the old one that was really hard, that was 11 domains where you had to study international law. That's the certification I had. And so I've been around in the security arena. I've been critical infrastructure director. This stuff that they have actually works. And I was very surprised, which is why we have them on here, is because the field is shifting. So you have this $20,000 audit you can do for a fraction of the price now. And that's how you generate profit, because we're at that sweet spot where today the cost of running a pen test and the amount you can charge for a pen test has a massive gap, because people are expecting you to have a team of like 5 people come in and do a pen test, but you're doing it with what, Key?
Well, today, I mean, it's all code, right? But and that's a great number to put it at, because to date, we've done over 5,200 assessments. I mean, in order to accomplish that with traditional pen testers, it would take, an army of pen testers, and that army doesn't even really exist. There's a shortage, in the industry.
Yeah. What is the shortage right now?
What is a shortage?
I mean, several times. There is a massive shortage in the cybersecurity arena. We knew it was coming, which is why I got out. I didn't want to be the director of security who couldn't hire anybody. There is a massive shortage out there, and I cannot think of the numbers. Maybe Train will put it in the chat there, and I'll put it in below the YouTube video and the Facebook video here after we're done recording. But the point is because you have a shortage, anybody who studies supply and demand, you can demand high prices in this time. We are in a sweet spot again. And this is all about how do we take advantage of this? And there's 2 things that are happening right now for our perfect storm. So we've got several MSPs in here. And the idea is that next month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So which means that a lot of corporations, a lot of your clients, especially the bigger ones, are going to be hit with a bunch of ads on, you need to be more secure, you need to be more compliant, you need to blah, blah, blah. And this huge push is going to happen. And they're going to be like, who do we go to? And they're going to ask, hey, do you guys do pen tests? Do you guys do any kind of security analysis? And you're like, oh, we have this partner. No, stop that. Today, go and talk about Tavani and offer it yourself. Say, oh yeah, we do this. Here's what we'll give you. It'll cost you this much. And your margins are going to be nice, and they're going to be ready to pay for it because they have to. You can also walk into your client and say, hey, we can do your third-party pen test now.
Yep.
And so it's an extra service you can offer with very little effort. So one of the questions I have for Alton and Key here is how much effort does this require for an MSP to run a vPenTest?
No, I'll take that one because I mean, Alton's the creator, right? This is like the back of his hand, and he's a pen tester. I am not a pen tester. I come from global service delivery, massive MSPs, huge companies, right? And for us, it's always been about scale. You know, in that type of business, it's all about scale. How much can I do with less people? And in this case, the platform is designed to be so easy to use that like anyone that understands IP addresses can schedule the assessment. You don't need to be a cybersecurity expert, which all you need to know is how to answer 7 sets of questions and drop in some IP addresses. And that's what it takes to run the pen test. Now, not only that, but you know, we understand like you might not be a security expert. And that's why on the support side, you know, once you get the findings and the reports, if you have any questions, we're here for you. We can schedule a call, go through it, review it, help you figure out remediation steps, or even just explain it. You know?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big problems I had was that everybody seems to think that if they buy from you, they're just getting a vulnerability scanner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that troll out there. So you're saying that this is an actual pen test. So what's the difference between me going out and doing a Rapid7 security scan or grabbing Metasploit and just doing a couple things? Why you? What is the difference between a vPen test and a vulnerability scanner?
Yeah. So I think, you know, vulnerability scanning, like those platforms are pretty, you know, pretty massive, pretty old, pretty traditional, but the purpose of those platforms are really to like show you where the vulnerabilities are, but they don't hit home, right? They don't tell you what the impact is if somebody was to take that vulnerability and do something with it. And so with the penetration test, like the goal for us is really to show the impact. Right. So if somebody took this very low informational vulnerability that no one is like going crazy about, and we actually combined it with something else that's maybe a medium or another low, what could we do? Right. And so the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish here is to show like companies what their impact is. Right. So by taking this vulnerability, can we get access to databases? Can we get access to social security numbers? Like, what are you trying to protect the most? Can we get access to that information by conducting a penetration test? And I think what we see a lot of times in the industry is, and I understand why people think that you can't automate a pen test, or, you know, Vonahai probably isn't doing the same thing. And I think the problem is because there's a lot of companies out there that say they're doing automated pen testing. And when you peel back the layers, after you get past all of the marketing, all of the sales, and you get deep into the actual product and get your report, it looks like a vulnerability scan, right? So there's just another company running, you know, Nessus behind the scenes and delivering it as a penetration test. And so for us, we differ by actually proving that it's beyond just a vulnerability scan, right? So in our reports, which we do free proofs of concepts for, you can actually see the amount of things that we're trying to do to accomplish that ultimate goal of finding sensitive data. So we're showing you that we're doing a password attacks. We're showing you that we cracked the password. And because of that, we're able to get access to XYZ. So we're actually showing the full attack chain from A to Z and not just telling you what's vulnerable, but exactly what that means because it's vulnerable.
Yeah. Can I add to that real quick? So this is because, you know, coming from the MSP side, right? I feel like we all have had those clients that they just don't want to take the advice. Or like, oh, there's no budget, et cetera, whatever the issue is. And at the back of your mind, you're always thinking, man, it's just any day now they're going to get hacked, right? You're literally just sitting there waiting for it to happen. But now it's almost like you have that best friend that you trust, and you're bringing that attacker in. You're bringing in that hacker that you control, that you manage, and you schedule the time and date in which they can do it. And now you'll know. You're not waiting to see how bad it'll happen. You're controlling and getting in an ethical sense, like this is what's going to happen, and you can get in front of that problem.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, you know, my points here is I like to hit up on. I've got it written down here is gap analysis. Gap analysis is your vulnerability scan. So you can go out, you can get a gap analysis from anywhere for free or like almost nothing. And getting a scan of ports, getting a scan of a system, that's easy. Proving that there's an issue is a whole nother thing. So theoretically, I could walk into your building and theoretically I could go into your accounting department and watch people type in their passwords. That's all in theory. Now I'm going to go out and find somebody who can actually walk into the building, get past the front desk, get into the accounting department and pretend to be a janitor for an hour and see how many passwords they can gather. And so now I'm proving that your front desk person needs to be better at their security. They need to be checking badges. They need to be doing these things. I think I just put an analogy online of, it's like you have a house. You have a great deadbolt on your house and you say, I'm done. I don't need to allow a pen tester in because they can't get through my front door. Cool. What if you have a party at your house? What if you've got cleaners that come in? What if you've got, and there's all these things. What if the actor gets invited into your home? Now what's the problem? And there's your penetration test. So you set up a scenario and you try to prove that scenario. And if you can't prove something, like, you know what? We couldn't get any passwords from any of your accountants. Great. Fantastic. Don't worry about that. Mitigate a different risk. Put your energy somewhere else. And as a MSP, this is what you want to do, is you want to be able to have a pen test come in and you're proving to your client, you're saying, hey, look, we did a pen test and we were able to get all of this. Here's how we fix it. So not only did you sell the pen test and get validated by a third party, Vanhai, you actually get to sell again the solution. So you're double dipping while having third party analysis. And that is a magic bullet, people, from a MSP standpoint. Because you're having an outsider say they need this. If they don't, here's what's going to happen, and here's what did happen. Now, luckily, this time we have the information. Next time, it could be a hostile actor. It could be a hacktivist. It could be an international, ne'er-do-weller. Whatever you want to go for. There's a million different reasons why somebody would want into your system. Just a couple years ago, somebody went into, 7 million cameras and used in the DDoS several websites. That just because it could, and it caused a lot of problems. And people are like, oh, well, we don't care about our webcams. What are they going to get off our webcams? It's not what they could get from the webcams, it's what they can make the webcams do. Mm-hmm. That's super embarrassing. And so you want to have these pen tests come in so that you can put the problems in front of your client and say, do you care? Not theoretically somebody could do this, but here's what can happen and what did happen. We did this. Do you care? And if you care enough, let's fix it. And now you've got a project in front of you to upgrade the SAN, to upgrade the firewall, to do additional work and segment their network, maybe put a zero trust model in or something. These are all things that your engineers can now do, not because you said so, but because a third party said so. And you got to charge for both. So that's how to generate profits from a pen test and what you need to know as an engineer. Now, the next thing is, what does this look like to bring something like this on board? Because I'll say, as somebody who used to use Nessus and Metasploit, it was all great to talk about it. And maybe 3 months later, after I got the first install in my Debian box, I might get something running that was corporate ready. So I got to ask, like, when you're running a vPenTest, how does it work with the onboarding? And also, if you guys have any questions, post them in the chat, please. Otherwise, I'm going to run through my list of questions that I have for them. So go ahead and tell me, what does this look like? I want to do a vPenTest. I want to buy it. How am I spending like $50,000 for the initial appliance? I know with Rapid7, I think I was spending an initial like 80 grand or something like that. And then it was a 3-year deal. And it was all a big, complicated project. I didn't have the cash on me at the time. No. So what is this onboarding process? What does it look like to bring a vPenTest into my MSP?
Yeah. So onboarding, you're looking at probably about an hour, and really most of that time is gonna be spent customizing the portal to make it look nice and pretty, get all your branding in place. To deploy the agent for internal pen test is a single device, about 40 minutes there. And then to schedule the assessments, we're talking maybe 10 minutes. If you have the information readily at hand, and really that's just the IP addresses, it will take 10 minutes to schedule the assessment. And to kind of give you a frame of reference around how long an assessment takes, if you're doing an internal pen test, right? And let's say it's a /24, and with about 100 devices active on that network, the pen test will complete in about 3 to 4 hours, and the reports will be ready within 48 hours.
Yep. Yeah. Just to touch on that too. Like he mentioned, the onboarding process is it's super simple. I know a lot of companies, the onboarding process could be pretty challenging, right? Run into a lot of issues and virtual machines and all that. I mean, we have so much content, right? Help center, PDF articles, video, like everything that you can imagine to get through the process. I mean, technically, you could even go through like your own trial, your own demo, without even having to pick up the phone to talk to anybody. So we've put out so much information out there to make the whole entire onboarding process extremely simple. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the things we get, and I've seen on the chats and stuff when people like talk to you guys or are mentioning automated pen tests. Like, there's no way you can automate a pen test. It can't be done.
Yet here we are.
One question.
It's done.
It must be a vulnerability scanner. Do you have any proof that this can be done?
Well, and I think that's the beauty of it. Like we stand behind the product so much because one, it is legit. It is a full blown pen test. And we offer free trials. No obligation. You don't even need to drop in a payment method. Just use it on a network of your choosing. Because we've had people ask, well, are you running it on a lab? No, because then I can control that situation, right? Run it on your own network. Any network you pick. Obviously, it needs to be an ethical pen test. So if it's going to be a customer environment, you better tell them.
You're getting a lot of trouble with not following the rules of engagement.
Oh, yeah. for sure.
I know firsthand. You can definitely raise some eyebrows by hacking the wrong wireless access point. I do miss those days when no one paid any attention to wireless security, and you could change a wireless access point's name within like 5 minutes, not even knowing what you're doing, like just writing a simple script, and then you're in, and now you just changed the access point because the password is still the default password. No one's changing it. It's still default admin default. You're done. So I do miss that, but it's nice when you just get a pen test whack and say, here's the things we did to you. But if you do that to somebody who's not aware, they can do some interesting things to you. So do it to your own network. And what is fun is like when you first do your first vulnerability scan, or not vulnerability scan, you do your first pen test on an environment, you look horrible. It's like if you have teenage kids, it's like walking into the bedroom after you haven't been in there for like a month. I mean, the smell hits you. There's clothes everywhere. It's absolute chaos. And you're like, oh my gosh, these are not the children I raised. And it's the same thing with your environment. You're like, I did not know. I feel dirty. I need to take a shower now. It's so bad in there. We got to clean this up. And you yell at the kids and you get everything in order. And finally, after a month, you got the environment cleaned up and you run another pen test. You walk in the door and it's clean. And you're like, okay. So there's only a couple of clothes on the floor. There's only one dead mouse in the corner. It's much better now. But compared to where you were, like, so that first pen test on your own, like you have like 3 PCs on your network sitting in your office, scan them. Get that done. Show yourself how dirty it is and get that narrative ready. Because when you say to your first client, like, hey, we're testing out this new pen testing software. Do you mind if we try your environment? And they're like, a free pen test? Sure. Now you're a hero. And you come back and you show them how dirty they are. And the number of projects that you drum up, use that cash from those projects to buy the full-blown version of their software and run some more pen tests. So that is the beauty of pen testing, is that it generates its own revenue, especially on a vPenTest. Because the uphill climb, as somebody who is a security director, uphill climb of hiring somebody, paying them that 6-figure salary, and then getting them to get their tool set installed, getting them going. They have their special laptop, they have their special projects, and they're moving forward with them. It takes a while, but with a vPenTest, you're done overnight. As Alden said, like in an hour or so, you're up and running. And you can start generating profits. So this is something, while you're watching a blue line, installing a server, installing some software for a client, load this onto your laptop and try to figure it out and generate the revenue and use that revenue to generate the next set of revenues. Am I missing anything there?
No.
Am I over-promising?
No. That's pretty spot on. Well, the other thing I was going to say is it's priced so well. Like I can say that undeniably, our pricing is absolutely the best on the market. And because we're actually encouraging more frequent pen tests. So before, like you said, right, you would pay for this one-time, very expensive pen test, and they were like, "Here's your problem," and then right now you make all these changes. You're like, "Well, did I actually fix anything, or did I make more problems while I was trying to fix it?" You know, you just don't know.
Nothing
Just wait
worse
till
than
next year.
fixing a vulnerability or fixing something and realize that you just created a wider path for the
Yeah.
event.
Right.
You're like, well,
Firewall's just Swiss cheese or something now.
Here, and now you're
Yeah.
screwed.
Exactly.
Spaghetti everywhere, can open. I got a question from the community. If your tool cracks the password, can you see what the password was?
Yeah, so the platform basically, whenever it captures hashes, it fires up a GPU instance to basically crack those passwords. And if it's successful, it will use those passwords to like number one, it'll validate to make sure that the credentials work, right? So we don't want to take those credentials that we think work and start locking out user accounts, right? So we can use the credentials that come back from the cracking process and use that to escalate privileges. So it is useful. It is used for that process. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, because I mean that's like the cool thing. Like, can you get somebody's password? And you know, that was a big uphill battle for me, is getting people to secure their own passwords. And I think that's that way for every engineer. But when you can show them, like, you know, we used to joke about how we were going to do a top 10 category every month. Like, if we crack your password, we're going to reset your account and we're going to post your password. Here are the top 10 passwords. That we won't tell you who, but we're going to say, here are the top 10 passwords we cracked. Don't use these anymore.
Exactly. And to that point too, it's funny you mention that because we actually do that too. So when we're successful with cracking like multiple passwords, we actually have like an automated password analysis that gets attached to the end of the report. And it does the exact same thing. Top 10 base words, you know, here are the most common phrases and words and stuff like that. So they can kind of get an idea, like, looks like everybody's using summer 2022. This is weird. We need to talk about this. So same thing.
And that's important, because then now you're showing the end user the value. Like, everybody talks, oh, no one hacks passwords anymore. Oh, they always say they can do that. Like, it's different being faced with your own fear and seeing your own password on plain paper. That strikes terror into a manager's heart. And what you can do, that fear, there's what I call fear-based security. And the idea that when you say, hey, we're going to be running a pen test on Tuesday, so anybody who's not following basic password standards or has a hard password, you're going to be triggered. You're going to be flagged. You will see a flurry of activities. People change their passwords knowing the pen test is coming up. It's kind of like when you see the police officer on the road. What's the first thing you do? You step on the brakes. You know, whether you were speeding or not, your foot goes over to that brake. And that's what all your users do when they know a pen test is coming. This isn't a vulnerability scanner. This is a pen test. Things are just about to get real, people. And do you want your name on that list? Do you want your PC on that list because you decided to download that free music player? I mean, Real Player back in my day was like a very, very real problem. I mean, the number of things we could do if you had Real Player installed on your system in the early 2000s would scare you. There's a reason why I was able to open those CD trays, people. Go ahead and enjoy that free music while I poke around here. So, I mean, we're smoking along here, guys, through the questions. The password, what was that? The password was Bulldog. I convinced the corporate IT management team to change how a new server standard would be implemented by telling them the CEO's password was Bulldog.
Well, and you know what's crazy on passwords is we had a pen test, or we had one that was run, and it turns out, I guess, like, people were building these servers using like a template, so it was the same local admin password every single time, and so we gained so much access, and I was like, well, you know, should probably change those.
Yeah,
well, that's why you use server 1, server 2.
Just iterate it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, but it's true. I mean, we as security admins and even as engineers, we are so busy preaching that we don't practice what we preach. Cobbler's kids have no shoes, people. So the idea that you should have a unique password for every system, people just don't do. And so I fixed that problem by using LastPass. But the problem now is that I have all these things where it syncs with my Roku or my Amazon, and I have to type in the password. And so I don't even worry about people seeing the password anymore because there's no way they'll memorize it. I can't memorize it.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
20 characters long and it's everything.
Exactly.
And so I got that because I did so many pen tests back in the day. And I'd seen so many passwords, like there's no way they would guess, oh, there it is. Crap.
Yep.
You think that you're safe because you did this thing. And so again, pen tests sell services. Hands down, because they prove to your client they need them. And we talk to our clients all the time about this. You can't just sell technology. You have to sell a reason to your technology. You have to sell a business solution. One of the things that CEOs and CFOs care about is threat analysis and risk analysis. And it's one thing to say this is possible. It's the other to show them this is what happened. Because when you have I'm going to go ahead and troll you guys. When is the biggest spend in any corporate security?
After an incident. Yep.
Everybody knows this. It's a joke in the security arena. If you want to get a bigger budget as a security manager, let your system get hacked. Just hope that you keep your job. So document, people. I told you guys that this was an exploit, and I just spent the last week cleaning this up. And the PR department now has to figure out how to deal with all the clients. And so in the future, here's what we need to do. And all of a sudden, your security budget gets tripled. Now, as an MSP, that could be your budget being tripled. That this client who originally thought that you were just full of it and just trying to sell everything under the sun now sees value in having an upgraded SAN. Now sees value in having an IPS-based firewall or security in depth or an extra response service or managed logs, a SOC, a managed SOC. So you see all the value in the technology because you're mitigating risk, which is what a CEO and a CFO understands. They understand risk analysis. They don't understand firewall speeds. They don't understand megabits per second. They don't care. Because it's just money down the drain. But they do understand when there's a threat to their business that could shut them down for a day. They do understand when they're not able to work. They do understand when they can't have client meetings. I mean, if you guys remember during the early pandemic, Zoom had a major issue. You guys remember the Zoom's major issue was? You could get into any Zoom meeting just by guessing.
That's awesome.
And so people were dropping into schools. In classrooms and causing problems. That problem got fixed really fast.
Oh yeah.
Well, now a pen testing tool would have picked up on that in a second, because because what happened was the attackers realized that these meetings were open. All of them were, and so Zoom figured it out and they fixed it. But they spent a lot of money to do it, and it's the same thing with your clients. They don't think there's a problem. And the pen test is going to show it. And then you, as an industry, say, oh, all we do is buy this thing. So we're at 41 minutes here in. Do you guys have anything else to add before we start wrapping up here?
No, I would just say, it's, just kind of going back to is automated pen testing, is that possible? I would love for everyone that don't believe it's possible to sign up and do a free proof of concept. I mean, it's pretty simple for us to invite you to the portal and so you can see for yourself. And the thing too is I get it, right? Like I said before, I was in, as a pen tester at previous companies, I said the same thing. So I totally understand where everybody's coming from. And that's why we have free proof of concepts, right? So we can prove it. But yeah, do a free proof of concept, compare it to your last pen test. And, it would be interesting to see if their perspective on that, changes at all. So I think that's
Yeah, and I do have a poll out there right now. We don't share you guys' information with any vendors that are on our webcast. We want to protect your privacy. So if you do want Von High to reach out to you, just mark yes on the poll. If you say no, we won't have a mark out. And that way, we can see who's interested and who's not. And this is kind of a newer format. I kind of copied from some other people where it helps you to say, hey, do I want to be reached out to or not? Because I have a billion spam messages and from vendors that I don't want to hear from. But then there's like, hey, I really would love to hear from that person because that's going to increase my profit margins. And I can say without a doubt that if you are interested in improving your concepts, Vanahai will help you sell your projects for almost no extra effort. You don't even have to hire anybody else. We all know hiring sucks right now. So don't hire anybody. Just grab this tool and run it when you're in your downtime. Get a rules of engagement going and say, I'm going to do this. And then next time you run and do a QBR, do a strategic meeting, say, hey, you remember that pen test you had us run? Here's what we found. And I didn't even know about this, but it looks like we need to upgrade this core server over here. I didn't even know you had it until now. And we were able to get all this data off of it. So at the very least, we need to mitigate that with some kind of feature. I know some of you have manufacturing clients. They're going to be running Windows NT, Windows 7 on their systems. And we want to make sure there's an air gap there. We want to make sure that there is something mitigating that manufacturing server from the internet, because you can't upgrade it because of the software. So if you do want Von to reach out, mark yes on the poll, reach out to me in an email, and we'll help you guys out. If you're online watching this, tag us. Leave a comment on Facebook, leave a comment on YouTube. You can always reach out to info@humanizeit.biz, and we will get back to you. Or you can reach out to Vonahai. I have their demo down in the down below. I can do this. Eventually, I'm going to have this so that I can pop this up on YouTube. Cards. So down below or up, YouTube will be up here. And you can click there and get a demo with Vonahai, and you can start earning new profits today. You want to do this in September. You want to get this done now, because October is Cybersecurity Awareness. You want to have this in place so that you can milk this for profits next month. October is your month, people. November, people are too busy eating turkey and taking naps. December, everybody's trying to close up their year with their budgets. No one wants to do pen testing in December. No one wants to have that. So you want to do it in October. So get your system installed in September so that you're ready to go. It only takes a couple hours, or 1 hour is according to Key, and we'll get you going. In the meantime, I thank you everyone for coming. I thank you, Alton. I thank you, Key. I thank you, everybody who else is in the attendees portion here. All the people in the peanut gallery that you can't see that are answering questions, and all the people on Facebook. I did not expect that. So thank you, and we will see you guys later.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Sweet. I appreciate it.